Hi there, I'm Amanda Ambles, and this is Health Matters Part 2. And I have Amir joining me today.
Hello,
So
everyone.
thank you, Amir, for coming along.
It's my pleasure.
Would you like to share some perspectives on health and things that you feel and think?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, hi everyone. Yeah, my name is Amir. I've done various things in terms of health, and obviously, like everybody else, I'm very interested in being healthy because this is the most important thing in our life is to be healthy because no wealth and riches means anything without a good health. So obviously, it's forefront in my mind. And over the years, I've done many different things in terms of remaining healthy and also understanding of health itself. So, uh, I used to eat everything before when I was younger, and my idea of healthy food was like buying veggie and chips from like the fish and chip shop. So that I didn't know anything. And then through some life experiences, I became really interested in like raw food and suddenly went from like I said, eating from like the fast food to suddenly like preparing all my own food, eating everything raw. And I did that for over like 2 years. I got some benefits, a lot of insights from it, but at the same time I found that it wasn't really the right thing for me. It didn't satisfy me, and in some ways it made my body weaker. And my problem at the time was is that I felt like there's only one solution for everybody's problem, and I became a bit dogmatic, telling everybody else to eat like raw food,
Mm.
and to the point of like, if somebody came to me and said, "Oh, my car has got a puncture. What can I do about it?" I said, "Well, eat raw food, and it'll be sorted." So it just became really blanket,
Mm.
and I found that it's like for me it was like a bit extreme, and
So raw food, do you mean vegan raw food, or do you
yeah,
mean, yeah, I
basically
see,
like
yeah.
just eating vegetables,
Mm.
no nothing else, not even cook anything, nothing over
Nothing.
38
Mm.
degrees, so
Mm.
that it still has its enzymes and so on. And I do believe to an extent that
Mm.
it is true that what they're saying, but I found for myself I'm somebody that is actually, I need to eat everything. And it's like, they have the Indian
Mm.
system where they could tell you whether your body
Yeah.
needs like even like whether you need meat or not. And I even did a thing, eat for your blood type, and it did show that I have to eat meat. So I have gone back to eating meat. And meanwhile, I don't believe also that it's all nutrition, because I know I've seen a lot of people that are eating just healthy food and they still not healthy, not even in their
Mm.
own eyes. They have health problems and chronic problems.
Mm.
And one thing I've noticed is uh, obviously, like, just to add to it, is that like I became a yoga teacher in 2006, and I've been doing yoga since 2003 quite regularly, and I
Mm.
found that that really amazingly changed my perspective in life, my body. And I found that like during the time when I was doing yoga, I caught colds a lot less,
Yeah.
and I found that it's actually like my body, I just felt healthier and more energetic.
Was your mind more balanced as well,
My
or
mind was
from that?
definitely more
Yeah.
balanced,
Yeah.
yeah, for sure, and
Mm.
then I also found that yeah, one thing I noticed in myself, talking about the mind, because I do feel like is that so many times we always think everything is a material thing, like, oh, what I have to eat,
Mm.
and what I have to do. But oftentimes it's like a lot of health, it comes from like also from a not such a materialistic kind of direction. I believe is
Mm.
that everything is comes from spirit.
Mm.
And if it's like, if we have something that makes us unhappy in life, our spirit is not free and happy,
Mm.
then somehow that descends down the layers into some kind of a health condition.
Mm.
So I do believe that in so many ways, it's like also our health is a reflection of our state of psyche and the well-being of
Mm.
our psyche.
Mm.
So I don't think it's just something that you could address just to say, okay, you eat this and you'll be healthy. I don't think it
Sure.
works like that. And
Right.
through, actually, this is what's kind of gotten me more into the investigating whole the nature of health and the nature of being happy, actually, because I think they also really
Mm.
very much related.
Mm.
And also, I mean, over the years, since 2014, I've been involved with learning chigung, and I'm a student of Mantak Chia, and I'm
What's
actually
that?
Mantak Chia is this Chinese, what do they call it? He's a Chinese chigung master. That he became very, very famous in the 80s and 90s because he's written multiple books about uh, personal power and energy and basically the Taoist philosophy.
Yeah.
Which is, if you're not aware of it, is probably the closest thing I could explain to you is that like the Chinese medicine. If you think of the Chinese medicine, they have the 5 elements, and the 5 elements are basically, they combine together to create everything that exists. I mean, if you think of it in terms of like the equivalent of our atoms, in the Western science, we have atoms and molecules, and they compound together to make, all the material things.
Yeah.
But Chinese philosophy thinks about it differently in the sense that they didn't come up with atoms. What they came up with the elements and the forces. There are 8 forces,
Yeah.
without getting too technical. And these forces are basically combined together to make everything. They say the world of 10,000 things came first from yin and yang, which is the duality.
Yeah.
And from the duality, then the combination of this yin and yang creates the 5 elements. And then the 5 elements combine together to make the world of 10,000 things, meaning everything that exists in the material world comes from these 5 elements. And then basically this system of Qigong that I study is called inner alchemy. And inner alchemy is essentially the premise behind it is the fact that everything that exists out there also exists inside of us, because we basically stardust, and everything that we made from the same thing that the universe is made of.
Yeah.
So they basically, the Chinese master kind of reasoned that, well, instead of going and combining, I don't know, like some elements out there to make potions and pills for people to get healthy, why don't you teach them to using the power of the mind to move and manipulate and combine these 5 elements that already exist within them,
right,
in order to actually create the solution, the health medicine, if you like, internally.
right,
But also at the same time engaging their own minds, our own minds, which means that we actually also train our mind. And the way I think about it is that the difference between if somebody massages you and you feel good, it's the sense that you passively let somebody else manipulate your body,
yeah,
and in order, and hopefully you feel better after doing that. But you passive, you can just really close your eyes,
yeah,
and there's a place for that. There's nothing wrong with it, but just to make the distinction, like this inner alchemy is a bit more like you learning to massage yourself,
right,
in the sense that you're not passive to the process, you're actually active to the process. And while you're doing that as well, you also need to train your mind, because you have to be able to focus on a certain part of your body or a certain energetic pathway to be able to guide the elements into a place where they could be combined together. So essentially, you're also training your mind, which is actually amazing. It is very important because, when you see people who are successful, they have focus, right? You can't just be up in the air. So the difference oftentimes between the people who are successful and not so successful is not the level of talent, is the ability to apply that talent for a long period of time in one unique direction.
And you have that focus, don't you?
For instance, in what if you have something that you're of interested in, it's much easier to find focus. And that's why people say, like, follow your heart, do what you love doing, because when you do love what you're doing, you automatically want to pay attention to it, because it's nobody's forcing you to do it, you're choosing to do it. So this is how all of these things combine together. And it's like if somebody says to you, to be healthy, just do one thing, maybe they're not taking all of these different dimensions of the health into account, at least in my perspective. And essentially the other thing I think about, when I was doing yoga, when I was teaching and learning yoga, one of the things that somebody told me that really made a distinction was saying, what's the difference between fitness and health? Like, for instance, some people do yoga for fitness,
right,
but fitness oftentimes also comes in the competition form. Like, you go to Olympic to show who could throw a javelin further. But it's like, I don't see any point of having the yoga competition to see who's healthier. You know what I mean? You just do something for your own personal health. And
Not a comparative
It's
thing.
not a
It's like
comparative
you're
thing.
not in competition with other people. You're in
No.
competition with yourself in a
Yeah,
way.
absolutely. And you're
Yeah.
basically learning the sort of the science
Mm,
of like the well-being. And also what I really, really learned from Qigong is that, like for instance, in order to be healthy, you like for instance, you may go to the gym and obviously we need cardiovascular kind of
mm,
performance, but you see some people who've got like bulky muscles about this much or like
mm,
on their necks or whatever, but
mm,
they're not necessarily healthy because the difference being is that health uh, is the ability of energy to move freely
mm,
through
mm,
the body.
mm,
And for instance, because we have
mm.
meridians in the body,
Yeah.
and the meridians, if you don't sit in a nice posture, or if you somehow crouched over, what would
Mm,
happen
mm.
is that the meridians are closed. Or if you have some blockages from the past, the meridians are closed, and then
Yeah.
the energy doesn't flow through the body.
Is that related to acupuncture then? Meridians.
That's
Mm, yeah.
exactly. So, I
Mm,
mean, and the five elements, Chinese medicine,
mm,
Qigong,
mm,
acupuncture,
mm.
is very much under the same umbrella.
Got you. Yeah.
Different branches, but they all address the same similar things. It's basically the body, similar to veins that where the blood flows through. We
Mm,
also have meridians, and in meridians, you have different energy. They are the energy pathways.
mm,
And when you think about it, like when we breathe
mm.
in air, but body breathes more than air. Body
Right.
also breathes energy,
Yeah.
right? And we do this so naturally because we're born like this that we don't sit down and go, oh, I have to breathe. You don't sit here and go,
Mm,
I have to breathe.
mm,
You just
mm,
breathing happens.
mm.
Similarly, breathing happens through the body, but if the meridians are not open,
Yeah.
it doesn't really flow. And then also if they're not open, it means like there's a stagnation. Very much like if the canal was shut, the
Mm,
dam, then you
mm.
get like a mildew and whatever it is that in the water, it becomes a swamp. And
Yeah.
when that happens, then this is, illness and everything like that could result. So
Okay.
essentially, like you maybe go to the gym and do 2 hours of like weightlifting, but you, if you haven't opened your channels,
Mm,
then you're still not going to be healthy. You may be
mm,
fitter, you might be able to beat somebody in a
mm,
fight,
mm.
but that doesn't make you any healthier in terms of
Right.
like the regulation of the body. And
Mm,
ultimately, you also have glands in your brain
mm.
that regulate uh, the metabolism and regulates
Right.
all the organs and how
Mm.
they function in sync together and in harmony together.
Yeah.
And if these hormones are not secreted, in a timely way or how they're supposed to be doing,
Yeah.
then also the body falls out of balance
Ah.
and it results in not the optimum health. So
Mm,
essentially, without knowing these things, it's a bit like shooting in the dark. And I mean, you might try
mm,
so many different things, but in
mm,
my experience, the best health I've had is being able to actually have a good posture.
mm,
Because when your posture is right, and when you do
mm,
qigong, oftentimes, like for instance, they get you to hold your hand like this, or you do certain positions. But if you analyze it beyond just the aesthetics and what it looks like,
mm.
you find that all of those are based on the principles that however it is that you're holding your body, you're moving your body,
Yeah.
you're enabling certain meridians to be opened,
Got you. Yeah.
right? And you're basically allowing these passages to be free.
Mm.
And through that, uh, you gain better energy, and the energy recycles and like refreshes itself, and fresh energy comes in and the old energy goes.
So is it a daily practice for you then, this, or can you visualize it, or do you actually have to physically move
Well, I mean,
every
the thing
day?
is, this is
Mm,
it's a great question
mm,
because I think also
mm,
visualizing is another aspect of it.
mm,
It's like we're not just a physical being,
mm.
and I mean this is a subject that could go on forever. So, and I love this subject, so I'm
Mm.
happy to talk about any of the aspects of this more if
Yes. Yeah.
anybody wants to find out more.
More
But
details. Yeah.
yeah, but essentially, like ideally every day, if you could even do 10-15 minutes of some movement,
Mm,
but that opens the meridians and the channels, and uh,
mm,
good breathing. And in Taoism, I'm going to tell you two things that are like when I learned that, for me it was like a light bulb going off. And basically, think of this paradox. There is infinite energy. Science has proven that there is infinite energy
mm,
out there and in the universe, right?
mm,
And then, but but oftentimes we find that we don't have energy. How
Right.
come is that? That if there's
Yeah.
infinite energy
We're
out
not
there,
accessing it then, are we?
we're not accessing it. There's two things. One is that we're not accessing it, and the other one is that when we do access it, we can't keep it. And
Yeah.
these are actually two topics. That one is that like it's like if you go to the stream and you try to bring the water and you stick your hands in the water and try to bring it, it runs out of your fingers,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So this is the principle of a container. And it's like in Taoism, and actually, you don't even have to think of Taoism and make it mystified, and like make it like inaccessible. It's just general like common sense. Oftentimes, these are things of common sense. Our body is a container, and if we have energetic holes in our body, we can't hold the energy that comes into us.
Okay.
And essentially, the main container of the body is the area behind the belly button. We call it the tantien. And behind the tantien is where we store the energy. And a lot of the practices that we do, I mean, like even if you don't know anything about Taoism or anything like that, putting your fingers on your belly button and breathing and allowing your consciousness to drop behind your belly button. The way I think about that is that imagine when you say I, oftentimes you think the word I comes alive in your head, doesn't it? So when you say I feel like here, or maybe at best I feel here. But if you think of I as like a candle that is burning from down here and the flames are here, so I feel like the real I is down here.
Okay.
Yeah. So even if you can't do anything, the first practice I would say is to drop your consciousness, literally close your eyes at first, and just see if you could just relax your consciousness so that you feel more behind your belly button. And even if you're talking, feel as if this talking energy is emanating from your belly outwards.
Yeah.
So everything. So this is the idea of container. Obviously, it's much more detailed than that, but for the purpose of this conversation here, that's as much as I want to talk about it. And then we have another very, very important quality as a human being in order for us to be healthy. And that's called the suction. Suction is the ability for us to be able to absorb energy in, like suck energy in, like a hoover.
Yeah.
And when you look at it, like breathing is suction. So if you didn't have a good breathing, you're not going to survive very long, right?
Yeah.
So essentially, this suction is very inherent to us. And as well, I mean, obviously, we suck the air through the mouth or through the nose, and that goes into our lungs. But as well as having suction through this area, we also have what these are called energy points in our body, which is kind of slightly correspond to chakras, but they're not exactly like chakras. But for now, you could think of it as chakras. You have a heart chakra, you have a crown chakra, you have the third eye, you have the belly button. Now, if you think of each one of these points here as a vortex, if you open a tap, if you have a sink and you pull the plug and it starts spinning and the water goes down, if you think of all of these ones are a bit like this, and what they're doing as they're spinning, they're sucking energy. So the crown sucks energy from heavens. You have feet in the soles of the feet. You have 2 points. You have a point on the soles of the feet. That's called the bubbling spring. That's got suction, and that's to bring in earth energy up. And you have the palms of the hand, they have suction. The heart, of course, the belly button has got massive suction. When you think about it, like a child, before they could breathe air, they're getting fed through their belly button. So this function is still exists, but in an energetic way. No longer with food, but there's a massive suction in the belly where you can absorb energy into the belly. So essentially, for an organism, forget about being a human, because human is a further construct. Originally, we were an organism before, as well as being a human, but ultimately we're an organism. And as an organism, for us to remain healthy, we need to have suction in order to be able to absorb energy, and we need to have a container in order to be able to hold that energy. And these are the things that we could, when you do chigung, or at least the chigung that I teach, or the teachings of Master Mantak Chia, what they're teaching you is how to strengthen these ones.
Okay.
You see what I mean? So like all of the things that you do in Qigong or whatever, one way or the other, they result in either you're getting more suction or the container is. And when you think of the container, a simple way of looking at the container on a psychological level is, let's say somebody's upset you today, right? If somebody's upset you, like something nasty happened, something bad happened to you.
Yeah.
And if you get really angry and start bashing things around and go around and swear at people,
Yeah.
that is the kind of equivalent of your psychological container having holes in it.
Yes.
So you're releasing a lot of this energy. Or it's like a kettle that is boiling, but you haven't heard the word flipping your lid?
Yeah.
It's literally flipping his lid and all the energy is dispersing. So essentially we have not only a physical container, we have a psychological container, energetic container, which is the psychology is essentially energy in movement.
Yeah.
So when you have a psychological container, which is your energy body, and if it's sealed, you can retain your composure under pressure. And that's a good sign of knowing, having a feeling of what a container is.
Is that the same as protection, or is it something different? You're actually more containing yourself rather than.
Yeah, I mean the same. I mean, like we also have an
Yeah.
aura, which is like your energy body. Like when it's glowing, when you're feeling like if you're glowing and everybody's smiling at you and you feel like nothing could harm you,
Yeah.
that is your protection. That is your energy body.
Yeah.
And that's also your immune system. Because look, because when you're walking around, if every little thing bothers you, then it literally means that like you can't protect yourself and then you're feeling threatened, right? So on a psychological level, which also has impact on the physical level, your immune system is weak. So when you have a good composure, that is kind of like having a really glowing aura. I always think of the Star Trek, and you know they had those force fields that you put your finger in and bzzz, so nothing could come through.
Yeah.
Like if somebody's giving you bad energy, it just hits that thing and evaporates. It doesn't come into your field. So that is your container. That is your energy body. And essentially, I mean, and I'm sure, I don't want to be dogmatic to say this only happens through Taoism, because that is just exactly what it is, dogmatic. But the concepts, one thing I've realized through doing yoga, I've also been an EFT practitioner and various other things. One thing I've realized is that there are principles of energy, which you could relate also to health, and then there are techniques built on these principles. Now, very much I think of it, so in order to, once you understand the principles of energy, you could almost make up your own techniques. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, the way I think of it is that you could go to a songwriting workshop, and we could both go to a songwriting workshop. We learn the same principles of songwriting, but your song would be very different to my song, right? But they're still valid songs because they build on good principles. So you have yoga, you have tai chi, you have qigong, you have, I'm sure, numerous other things. But once you have the right principles of energy, then you could even go and invent your own system. As long as you built on that sound principles, why not? You could work. But obviously, if you go and do yoga and stuff like that, then you're seeing the depth and width and breadth of somebody else's knowledge, that you don't make something that is gimmicky. So the people who've gone and studied a lot, when you see the people who've come up with new systems, they've mastered old systems already, because then they know the depth and the broadness of the subject. And so obviously we could always learn more. And I'm not advocating that you have to give up everything and come up with your own thing. But just to understand, the thing is that once you understand these basic principles of like energy, then you could see it in life, and then you could see it also in the different dimensions of life. Like I said, you know, composure healthily. If somebody punches me in the belly, if I'm strong, I could cope with it. If somebody energetically punches me in the face, if I have good composure, I could hold that. But the principle is the same, is the container. And similarly, you know, with suction is the ability to absorb energy. So that's, yeah, I've said quite a bit about it.
So
but,
it's principles and techniques are, you know, principles are the most important thing, really.
Principles of what techniques come from.
Yeah. Right.
Techniques are built to kind of to bring those principles into action, and different people, because, you know, you see, you have, like, for instance, you got Taoism, you have Hinduism, and you have Tibet. What do you call it? Buddhism,
Buddhism,
right?
yeah.
These are like sister practices. They actually all built on the same foundations, but because they come from different cultures,
Yeah.
they're different. And if you were somebody uneducated, you might have if you're a Buddhist, you might go and fight with somebody who's a Taoist, going, my system is correct, but your system is wrong. And but when you actually go a bit deeper and go, actually, these are just different expressions of the same thing, it also helps you embrace other things instead of going fighting them, because you go, actually, this is just like the diversity that life affords us. So in a sense, yeah. So I think is the kind of a broad perspective of
It's
what I wanted to
fascinating.
share.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
really, really interesting. And I'm sure there will be a part 3 soon as well. And we're so lucky to have Amir sharing all his knowledge and his experiences here today.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Thank you so much, Amir.
That's my pleasure.
Really interesting.
Thank you.